Hey everybody, it's Lindsay with North End Organic Nursery, and here's your Garden Minutes. So today I'm going to talk about conditioning soil. When you get new soil put into your raised beds, and it's fall right now, which is my favorite time to build new raised beds because it makes the process we're about to go through that much better. But anytime you fill your garden beds with brand new soil, you need to go through a conditioning process. What it is that unless your soil comes out of a bag, like you fill it up with a planting mix and it's already pre-moistened, all organic matter that has a composty substrate to it, and even most soils, have a tendency to be what's called hydrophobic. Hydrophobic means repelling water. There's hydrophilic, which means loving water, and there's hydrophobic, which means hating water, repelling water. Here's the fun thing. When you get soil delivered, like North End Organic Nursery, we blend and deliver our own bulk organic garden mix. When you get it, it's this really soft and dry material. This soft and dry material is not ideal for getting plants growing right away. It has to be conditioned first. And what I mean by conditioned is slowly wetted and then allowed to sit and sort of meld and let the biology in there start to create structure again. A lot of times people will get their soil, water it down a little bit, set up their sprinklers or their drip lines like I have here, give it a wetting, and then plant. We'll often hear from those people a few weeks later saying everything they planted died. And the reason for that is because the soil never got fully wet. So imagine, if you will, a dry sponge, fresh out of the packaging. You clean sponge, you're ready to go with it. You put it underneath of your faucet, and as the water hits it, it sort of sheets off left to right and all around, because that sponge at that moment is hydrophobic as well. So you let it stay under the water, it starts to slowly absorb, you squeeze it a little bit, it absorbs some more. Eventually the sponge swells up and is now holding water. That sponge went from being hydrophobic to hydrophilic. Philic meaning, again, loving water. Now that sponge will hold water. You can squeeze the water out and it'll refill with water again. It will retain its nature until it completely dries out again. So when we are doing that with our garden soil, we want to make sure we take this hydrophobic dry sponge and turn it into that hydrophilic moisture and water holding sponge. So how do you do that? It is a slow process. You cannot rush this. What we're going to be doing here this evening is I'm going to take my hose, and I've already turned on my Netafim irrigation system here several times, but what's happening is that as the water is dripping out, it's not spreading out, it's finding kind of channels and just making its way through the soil. So I'm going to take my handheld sprinkler handle thing, sprinkling wand, what do we call those? Anyway, this thing that puts water out in a soft way, and I'm going to go back and forth and I'm going to water my beds and go repeating from front to back, left to right, until I can dig down and find consistently moist soil. This is going to take me a while. For the sake of the video, I'm just going to do this first bed out of 4 that we have just built together. I've got my brand new edible pollinator-friendly landscape here that we just put together with Split Pea Edible Landscaping, and I am going to get my bed set up so I can plant some late fall veggies, some kale, chard, arugula, all that fun stuff. But before I do that, I need to get these beds conditioned, and that's what we're gonna do. Stick with me. So one of the things I want you guys to notice as I'm watering, that is a total observation-based evidence of this soil being hydrophobic, is look at all that puddling. Why in the world is it puddling? Our soils that we blend are 2/3 compost, 2 different types of compost mixed with a native topsoil. Why in the world would something like this that has that much organic matter and ability to retain water be puddling? It is just the nature of biology and organic matter that when it gets dry, it repels water, and I'm sure there's some much better scientific ways I could be putting this to you guys, but I don't think necessary for this video to understand that dry soil is hydrophobic. And then once it absorbs, it'll become hydrophilic. As you can see, the top has been wetted, but look how dusty and fine it is underneath. So we're gonna keep on doing this until it's consistently moist throughout. So as you can see, this soil is so hydrophobic, which I totally expected it to be, that it is puddling to the point where the water is actually running out the sides of the bed. I am going to water it a little bit more than actually just let it rest for the night and absorb the water that's in here. Come back again tomorrow and do it. We're actually expecting rain, which will be very helpful in this process. Another thing that would be very helpful in this process would be just a slow oscillating sprinkler going back and forth on here. The moral of the story is you can't just set them up with the irrigation pipe or just plant your plants and water the plants themselves and expect that your soil has been conditioned to the point where it will hold water and not actually constantly be sucking water away from the plant. So I'm gonna water this just a little bit more for tonight and then probably call it for the night, let the rain kind of have a whack at it tomorrow and probably give it another watering in the evening. And we'll check back the day after tomorrow to see exactly how moist this is. But let's just take a look. You see all this puddling right in here? It looks like it's so saturated with water because of all this water in these little puddles. Dry as a bone. See? It's totally deceptive. Yep, hasn't even gotten anywhere close to saturating even an inch of the top layer here. So, see you guys in a couple of days after we've gotten a chance to slowly saturate these two beds. Okay, so this is a few days later. I watered for a bunch that night. We had a rainstorm and my soaker hoses have been going. And let's see exactly how wet this has gotten. It's gotten decently wet, but there's still a lot of really dry spots in here. So gonna go hit it some more today, do some nice long waterings, hopefully. The top hydrophobic layer has been broken through, but it's still super dusty. So here we go and watering some more, day 3 after day 1 of saturating as much as we could, day 2 of a 1/4 inch of rain, now day 3. Another way to slowly saturate your beds, if you have the ability, is just to set up a little sprinkler system like this. This is just one of my sprinkler head wand combination tools that I have. And I'm just gonna let this sort of slowly rain down on here for maybe another 15-20 minutes, and I'll come check the saturation level. And if it's still dry, we'll come back and do some more.